Two. Hey everybody, my name is Racheallee Lacek and I am the host for Delivered, our newsletter with the Lacek Group for Pyatt Sotheby's International Realty. And we've been introducing content that's relative to the Pittsburgh market and things that people want to know about. And today I have a special guest with me, Alyssa Falarski. Hi. Did I say your last name wrong?
It's Falarski, but that was close.
At some point I will get these right.
No, it's okay. It's a kind of a weirder last name to say, and most people end up messing it up the first time. Don't worry.
So tell us, you work at 31st Street Studios in the Strip District. What do you do there? What is it? I mean, tell me all about it.
Yeah, so I've actually been working at 31st Street Studios for the past 5.5 years, and it is one of the largest film studios on the East Coast. And a lot of people don't know that it even exists in Pittsburgh, let alone how large it is. And we've been responsible for over 25 productions that have come through the Pittsburgh area over the past 10 years. So I've seen about half of those in my time. I started in 2015. And since I've been there, we've had some really interesting productions between television and also films, and then the occasional commercial and small shoot that comes through. And we also like to put on events whenever we are on the slower end of the film industry. So we've had concerts and a beer festival, and our biggest one was in 2019 when we did the Lume's Christmas lights at our property that brought in hundreds of thousands of people.
That seemed like it was such a great event, and I know that we can always see those items recapping on your website, so we can see exactly, hopefully maybe we'll get to do that again sometime in the near future.
Yes, I mean, we were all set to do it again in 2020 before the pandemic hit. And I'm sure that once things calm down a little bit, we'll want to revisit those kinds of, cool events that bring in different people from all around the Pittsburgh area to our property.
Speaking of the pandemic, I mean, how has that affected the movie industry? I mean, are people still filming here? Like what's happening?
That's a great question. The film industry was certainly hit hard by the pandemic. Everyone works in very close proximity to each other. So that all had to be shut down pretty much as soon as the pandemic hit Pittsburgh. So I distinctly remember being involved in a conversation with our company where we realized like, hey, everything is shutting down, and that does include the film industry. And productions had to stop dead in their tracks, whether they were done filming or whether they were in the middle of filming. And that lasted for a few months before the industry as a whole started to pick up again. Now, around the country and around the world, productions have been ramping back up slowly and following very, very strict COVID protocols and guidelines that were set forth, back in the summer. And overall, it's going well. The main goal was to get people back to work. The film industry in Pittsburgh alone employs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that were all out of luck for a really long time. So in Pittsburgh, there are actually 3 productions that are currently filming around the area, and one of them is filming at our studio. But there are 2 Netflix productions and a TV series that have been progressing, and I'm sure that there have been some hiccups along the way, but very, very intense safety measures have been put in place to make sure that everyone is safe and healthy and is able to keep working, which is really great because we all wanted that to happen. But in 2020, we were completely vacant from March through the end of the year. So wow. It was really tough. I know that other people had it harder than us. So we just kind of waited until the right time for a production. And fortunately, we are back in business this year, and we have a TV show that we're really thrilled to have.
Well, that's exciting, and I think a lot of the viewers that are going to be listening to our chat is the question that they're going to want to ask is why Pittsburgh? Why is Pittsburgh such a destination for filming?
Well, if you ask a Pittsburgher that, I'm sure they could give you lots of cool reasons as to why Pittsburgh is such a great place to work and film. But from an outside perspective, of course, Pittsburgh doesn't immediately, strike you as a great city to go to. But for the one thing that draws people in is the tax credit, which we share that with Philadelphia, and it just gives, from an economic standpoint, a better reason to come to the state of Pennsylvania. But outside of that, Pittsburgh is a very diverse geographic place to to set any kind of movie or television production. If you film in our city, you can make it look like Brooklyn, you can make it look like New York, you can make it look pretty much like any city that doesn't have a beach or a desert. We can transform our city to look like that within a 50-mile radius of the Pittsburgh area.
For
So
example, Batman, right? Batman was actually made to be in Gotham City, which was supposed
right.
to replicate New York, but yet it was filmed in Pittsburgh.
Right,
Yeah.
right. They had done the previous Batman movies in Chicago. They wanted a different look, and Pittsburgh and Chicago have a little bit of a similar vibe from the director's standpoint. And they're like, wait, this is such a cool place, and there's really interesting architecture throughout the city, which is why in Batman you see those the columns that are with the Carnegie Museum and everything. There's really great backdrops that are already naturally in place. But then you can go down the street and make it look like an old rust belt type of gritty farmland, if you just drive 20 minutes outside of the city. So it's really unique, and you don't have to travel too far to make it look like anything that you really desire.
So speaking of Batman, who are some of the other featured films or notable series, documentaries that have been filmed here?
Well, most recently, we have the amazing Mr. Rogers movie, which was filmed here with Tom Hanks, and that was also filmed with our studio. Since I've been here, we've been involved in the Outsiders TV series, which ran for 2 seasons. The movie Where'd You Go, Bernadette? The TV show $1, the TV show Mindhunter. There were 2 August Wilson plays, Fences and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, both of them have filmed in Pittsburgh with our studio, and also both of them being great Oscar contenders. So whenever award season comes around, Pittsburgh has something to do with that, which is also really cool. If we go back a little further, back to the Batman time period, there's other movies like Southpaw and Fathers and Daughters and The Fault in Our Stars, Concussion, Jack Reacher. So, I mean, those are just some of them. I think I read that there's been over 190 movies and television productions that have come through the city of Pittsburgh over the past, 75 years. So we've really, really made our mark in Hollywood, whether people realize it or not.
That's amazing. And so tell me a little bit about the location of the studio. I mean, I know it was an old steel mill site, but as far as how many productions can go at once, how many people can be, on site after COVID with regulations, tell me more about that.
Sure. So in a normal year, we've been very fortunate over the past 5 or 6 years to have multiple productions come to our studio at once. So it really does depend on the show. Most productions need about 3 of our sound stages, and we have 8. So we have fit 3 shows at once, filming simultaneously, and it was really tight to do that. So a more comfortable number would be 2 productions at our studio at once. But like I said, we have 8 different sound stages, and they're all broken up. So productions have their choice of where they want to film. But we're on 9 acres of property right at the edge of the Strip District. And we have a really great location because we're so connected to downtown, but also it's an easy, jump onto, 28 to get up to wherever you need to go in Butler or wherever. And then on top of that, the Strip District is just such a lively, diverse, neighborhood that productions really like to be in that kind of center of, all the hubbub with all the great food and the vendors. So we really, really have a fantastic spot.
That's great. And if you have any advice for anyone that wants to get into the industry, or if you want to give them a location of where to look and research, where would that be?
So, for our studio, we do not have anything to do with the hiring of the crew members that come in. The productions do that themselves. We are simply facilitating them for a location for their sets and construction crew and everything. But what I always recommend that to anyone that's in college, or even if you're 10 years out of college and just looking to jump into the industry, is to get connected with people that are already working in it and ask their advice. Ask to take them out for a cup of coffee to pick their brain on where their interests may be. We have a really, really talented group of individuals that live and work in Pittsburgh that are involved heavily in the film industry. And so people have great stories on how to get involved and how to get your foot in the door. But it's really about making those connections, depending on what you're interested in, talking to the right people. And if you're looking to get your name on, the crew list for potential production coming to town, contact the Pittsburgh Film Office. They are a fantastic resource for really anything involving the industry. They have their hands in not just our studio, but in all of the places you can film in and around the greater Pittsburgh area. And they have these excellent connections. And so I would really encourage you to support them and to talk to them about those kinds of opportunities as well.
That's great. Thank you so much for explaining a little bit about the film business here in Pittsburgh and 31st Street Studios. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye.